In today's tutorial we're going to make these cute little baby booties. They're really quite easy to do, and let's get started and we'll follow the instructions to make them step by step. Welcome back to the Crochet Crowd as well as Yarnspirations.com. I'm your host Mikey. In today's tutorial we're going to work on these Bernat baby booties just like so, and these are really quite an easy baby booty in order to maintain, and I'm going to show you how to do these. This is available in two different sizes. We have chain 16 and we have chain 22. So depending on the size that you want to make is over here. So you can see over here from 3 to 6, okay, is like this, and then from 12 to 18 months is in the brackets with a bold number. So anytime that you want to change, so chain 16 is 3 to 6 months and 22 is 12 to 18, and you just substitute the instructions for where you need to. In today's tutorial I am going to concentrate on the 3 to 6 months, and you can just change out the information because it's right here and readily available for you. You're going to need a size 4mm crochet hook today, and I'm going to be using Bernat Softee Baby yarn today, and it's really quite majestic, and that's what it looks like there. So let's begin to do this next. So let's grab our yarn and hook and let's make a slip knot, and I'm doing the 3 to 6 month size today, and we are needing to chain 16. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. So there you go. So there is 16 there. So let's begin to do row number 1. So we're going to need a stitch marker for row number 1, and we're going to be carrying that stitch marker up, but we don't need it quite yet. And let's begin. So we're going to go second chain from the hook, so just count back, so 1 and 2, and we want to place 2 single crochets into that one stitch. Now we've done another baby booty that has straps on it already with the ribbing kind of look, and it's kind of very similar to how it's starting up here. So we want to single crochet here into the next 4 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, and we're looking back at the instructions. It says 2 single crochets in each of the next 2. So the next are going to have 2 single crochets into the same stitch. So 1, and then we do the same thing for the next one. So there'll be 2 in that one as well. Just like that. And it says to put 1 single crochet into the next stitch that's available to you. Just like that. So what I'd recommend, right where you have this one that's sitting by itself, grab that stitch marker, slide your hook underneath the stitch, okay, and grab that stitch marker and pull it through. This indicates the very front of the booty. So every time you pass this mark you're going to notice that you're going to be right in the very front of the boot. So let's just carry on for the rest of this row. So the next 2 chains are going to be 2 singles each. So 2 single crochets, so 1 and 2, then do the next one. So 1 and 2, and now the next stitches all the way to the very end are just going to be 1 single crochet each, except for the very end there will be 2 into that one. So just 1, and I don't really need to count it, I just have to know that the last stitch is just going to be 2 single crochets. So carrying along. Okay, and I got 1 more left, and that will be 2 single crochets inside that stitch. 1 and 2. And that completes off row number 1. So this is going to be sewn together in the end. This is the bottom of the booty, and let's carry on to row number 2. So row number 2 we're going to start up and we're going to chain 1, and it's going to be a single crochet into the first one, and you're going to put 2 of those, 2 single crochets into the first one. And here's what I want you to identify. You can count your stitches if you want to, but here is where the center point is. So what we have to do is that we have to look for where that is, okay, in the whole grand scheme of things, and we have to look to the 2 that are just right before it. So 1 and 2, and you can either count your stitch work or just look to the ones that are right before it, and those are the ones that we're going to do the expansion on before going to the center of the middle. So just for argument's sake we can just count it and let's see if it gets us there. So it says to do 7, so 7 single crochets in a row. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And as I just told you before, the ones that are right before it, the 2, they're gonna have 2 single crochets each. So 1 and 2, like that. And then the next one is the center one here, so it's just gonna be 1 single crochet, and I want you to use that stitch marker and I want you to pull it through that one to keep an eye on where the center point is. And then the next 2 stitches that are just after this point are going to be 2 single crochets. So 1 and 2. Okay, and the next one is 1 and 2. And now you're just going to single crochet yourself all the way to the other side here, and the last stitch will have 2 single crochets into the final. Okay, so we're moving along quite nicely on this tutorial. This one's a pretty easy one. There's not a lot of hoops to jump over, and the very final stitch is going to have 2 single crochets into there. So that was row number 2. So that's what it looks like, a little horseshoe at this moment. Let's turn our work and go for row number 3. Same concept. So you look for the middle one, and the 2 right before it are going to have 2 single crochets in it, and the 2 right after it's gonna be 2 more single crochets. So you can either count it or you can just look for that. So you're gonna chain 1 first to start, and then 2 single crochets into the first one. So 1 and 2, and you're just gonna single crochet until you get to the second one before the stitch marker. Okay, so this is the very bottom of the booty if you're wondering. Okay, so we got 2 just before the marker, so those will have 2 single crochets each. So 1 and 2, and then 1 and 2, and then the middle one with the stitch marker is going to have 1 single crochet by itself, and I want you to move up that stitch marker again so you can keep an eye on it. It's important that you know where the front of the boot is. So the next 2 right after is going to be 2 single crochets into each. So 1 and 2 and 1 and 2, and then single crochet all the way to the other side, and the final stitch will be 2 single crochets into the final. Okay, so the very final stitch that's next is going to have 2 single crochets. Let's move along to row number 3. Again, this is what it looks like, getting a little bit bigger now. Row number 4, exactly identical. Again, looking for the 2 right before the stitch marker to apply 2 single crochets and do the same thread on the other side of the stitch marker. So let's start off the same way. Chain 1, 2 single crochets into the very first. So 1 and 2. And let's single crochet ourselves to the second before the stitch marker. So we're just working on the base and the bottom. That's just a flat kind of idea, but you can see that the sides have a ribbing that's going horizontal, and we're going to be covering that real soon. Not quite yet. Okay, so we're coming up around. So I'm looking, I can either count or I can just look for it. So here's the 2 right before the stitch marker. Those 2 are going to get 2 single crochets each. 1 and 2, 1 and 2. The one with the stitch marker is just going to get 1. Move that stitch marker up, and then the 2 on the other side of that will each have 2 single crochets. So 1 and 2 and 1 and 2, and now we're going to single crochet ourselves just 1 each all the way back to the other side. The final stitch, of course, will have 2 single crochets once again. Okay, really quite an easy pattern to follow. So the final stitch will be 2 single crochets. Let's move up to row number 5 and the game plan is going to change now. So rows 5 all the way through to 10 are going to be exactly the same. Okay, so I'm gonna show you it only once. So there's no growth going on and we're now just gonna work on the back loops only. So if you're new to crochet, what happens in these stitches is that each 2 strings that you see here is a stitch. But if you go into the stitch that's closest to you, okay, that is called a front loop, and if you go into the stitch or the string that's in the other side that's away from you, that's a back loop. So we want to do the back loops only throughout the next 6 rows. So 5 all the way through 10 is a total of 6 if you're counting that by rows. You chain up 1 first and going into the back loop only, so not into a full stitch, so you're just grabbing 1 string and you're going to single crochet. So just continue to go across and just going into the back loop only. This will give you a beautiful ribbing effect. The ribbing effect does appear on both inside and outside of the booty. So it just is a great little feature when it comes to these ideas. So I want you to go back and forth and I want you to do rows from 5 all the way to 10 doing the exact same thing. There's no growth. When you get around to the front of the booty, don't worry about it. Just carry on. You are not gonna have to worry about that stuff. And it's just really quite straightforward. So back loop into each stitch going all the way across and do that for rows number 5 all the way through 10. So I'm now finished rows from 5 all the way to 10. So you'll notice that it will naturally want to form itself into a booty because of the way that we've been working with it. So what we're going to do at this moment is that we're going to create the last 2 rows, and the last 2 rows are the final, and you'll notice that it will really collapse in the top of the front. So what we're going to do is that we're going to count our stitches, this time continuing to work on the back loops only, and we're going to chain up 1 and we're going to single crochet into that same stitch. Okay, so 1. So we need, for this size, we're only gonna do 13, so that was 1 and 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. So what we're going to do now at this point is that we're going to start putting some stitches together. Okay, and this is gonna be called as a double crochet 3 together. So what we're going to do at this particular moment is that we are going to really create the instep on the top. So let's begin to do that. So we need to do this for a total of 2 times the double crochet 2 together, and then we're gonna do a center and then 2 together on the other side again. So how we do that is that we go into a back loop only. Okay, so we actually have to wrap the hook first. So we're gonna wrap the hook going into the next stitch, pull through 2 only, or 2 only, and then hold it, yarn over and go into the next stitch, pull through 2 only, and now you have 3 loops left on your hook. You're going to wrap that, or wrap the hook and pull through all 3 loops, and you need to do that again one more time. So wrap going into the next stitch, pull through 2 and hold, wrap, next stitch, pull through 2 and hold, and then just wrap and pull through. And now we have to do what we have to do is 1 double crochet into the next stitch, just like that, and then we're going to repeat doing this particular 2 together once again. So let's do the 2 together once again. So the next, wrap the hook, pull through 2 and hold, next one, pull through 2 and hold, 3 loops on there, so you're gonna pull through all 3, do it again. So into the next, pull through 2 and hold, next, pull through 2 and hold, and then just pull through all 3. You're now then just going to single crochet yourself in the back loop only all the way back to the very start of, or to the very end of the row. Okay, so this has just created a beautiful instep in the top. Let me just show you this at this moment so you can see that it comes around to the top just like this, and now we're just gonna single crochet ourselves all the way to the final. So please do that and I'll see you there in just a moment. We'll start the final row together. So now on the way to the end, let's turn around and do our final stitch. So we're gonna do what is called the double crochet 5 together this time around as well. So let's begin. We're going to chain up 1 and continuing along with the back loops only. Oh sorry, it says the both loops. So this time we're gonna just work with both loops, just single crochet, and that one plus 12 of its friends. So there's a total of 13. So I'm gonna count that already. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. So the next one is gonna be 5 double crochet together. So how we do that is that we're going to wrap the hook and we're going to go into the next stitch, pull through 2 and hold. And you want to keep doing this until you get 6 of these loops on the hook. So coming into the next one, pull through 2 and hold. Go next one, pull through 2 and hold. So you got a total of 3 of them so far, and that one's your 4th stitch or 4th loop, and you want a total of 6 loops, just like that. So yarn over and then pull through everything just like this. And what we're going to do then is just carry along, and we're going to single crochet both loops. So just go right to the next stitch and just single crochet it all together, and you're just gonna single crochet all the way to the very start or to the very end of the row. And that would conclude off doing this particular booty at this time. What we're going to do is that we're going to do the seam line at the bottom, and we're going to create the straps next, and they are a separate component of putting the strap on afterward as well. So just single crochet right to the end. I'll see you there in just a moment. So what we're gonna do now that I'm at the end, I want to just trim off an extra large strand, and we're gonna use that to be able to sew the seam together. So what I need you to do is that I need you to look at this and determine what is your good side and what's your bad side. So we want to make sure that when you're looking at it, you see how you get a nice beautiful line when you're going all the way around like this. So this is the side that you want people to see, and so if you have it the other way, it's a little bit more like that. Okay, so you want to have it to the point where you want it to see at this moment you want to see the side that nobody wants to look at, and that's your basis. So what I need you to do is that I want you to grab a darning needle and put that strand through the darning needle. Okay, so you're basically turned your booty inside out in order to do this. And what we're gonna just do is that we're just gonna match the product together. So just put both sides together like this, and you're going to whip stitch just straight across into both sides. Just be a little bit conscientious about this. You want to take your time and just kind of whip stitch them. Doesn't take a lot of time, to be quite honest with you. And you're just gonna follow the seam line all the way to where it joins on the bottom of the sole. So again, I'm doing this on the inside of the booty. So when I go to use this project, you got to turn it the other way so that the baby can wear it. This will keep the stitch work on the inside of the project as well. If you're running into any strands like this, what you can just do is just place it over top, and then it'll capture that into position as well. Okay, so it's kind of like a horseshoe shape, so you stop when you get to that complete turnaround at the base of the booty. Now when I did this for the first time, I was thinking, gee, that doesn't look right, but then you end up turning it the right way and it looks great. So now that I've done and gone all the way, I want to tie a little bit of a knot here. Just run the yarn through to lock it, and then what I want to do to hide this completely is that if you go and slide this underneath some fibers in 3 different directions, it really hides it in beautifully. So go in 1, okay, and then just make sure that you don't overstretch it, and then coming back in the other direction for 2, and then coming back in the other direction for 3. This will prevent your tails from ever falling out on your work, and then you can just safely trim it right down and then you get rid of that other piece that we went over like this, and basically you can turn it now inside out like this, and now you have the basis of your booty. So now it's time to do the strap next. So this is what it looks like so far. Let's do the strap next, and we're just gonna create a new strand here, and in the sides that we're doing we need to chain a total of 33. So just 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Go all the way to 33 for me and meet me back here in just a moment. Now that I have my 33 done, nice and easy, second chain from the hook. So 1 and 2, count back, and I want you to single crochet yourself all the way across the chain. Okay, so just every chain stitch is going to get 1 single crochet. Please do that, and when we come back then we'll start on row number 2, and we're gonna create a buttonhole in that row and then do a final row for the strap. So just 1 single crochet in each of the chains going across. So now I've single crocheted myself across the chain. I wanna turn it, and we're gonna create a buttonhole pretty quickly. So we're gonna chain up 1 and single crochet into the first one, and then we're going to chain 2. So 1 and 2, and skip the next 2, 1 and 2, and go to the third one and single crochet. That is just now a new buttonhole. So this is row number 2. You're going to single crochet across the remainder of the row, and I'll see you back for row number 3. Okay, so I finished number 2 in the buttonholes on the other side. We're gonna turn our work and chain 1, and we're gonna do 1 single crochet into each of the stitches except for the final of the buttonhole area, and I'll see you there in just a sec. So just 1 single crochet in each until you get to the buttonhole. So I'm getting close to the buttonhole, and you will be able to see the 2 chain gap there. Okay, so in that gap you're gonna place 2 single crochets into there, and then 1 single crochet into the final. And I want you to cut this off and weave in your ends, and we're gonna use this as a strap. This can be the left or the right strap depending on how you sew it to your booty. Let's just weave in our ends. Let's clean up these tails and let's get rid of them. Use your darning needle and just use it and slide underneath just like we've done in the past. Okay, so just put your needle in and just slide it up underneath the stitches. It's a baby, so you don't want any of these tails hanging out if you can avoid it. And just take your time, and it does nice final touches. If you go in 3 different directions at the same time when you're weaving them in, they'll never fall out. So you don't have to worry about gifting this as a baby shower and then all of a sudden there's tails hanging out of it. Okay, so let's just do that with the other one as well, and when we come back I'll show you how to do the straps and put it onto your booty. So now we're about to do the strap to the baby booty. So depending on how you put the strap on makes it left or right. So if you look at the photograph you'll notice that in the left version, so my left hand, depending on which video version you're watching, is that the button always faces towards the outside. Okay, so in this case it would be like this. So you want to be able to fasten this strap on and the button faces the outside of the baby. Okay, right about there. So then to make it right-handed, then you would have to then turn it the other way like so, and the button will be on the other side like that. So how do we determine this? What I would recommend is that you are just gonna count out the number of stitches. It doesn't say how many to do. I'd recommend just do a nice and make it the same. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm gonna say 9. So I'm gonna go 9 on this side, and I'm gonna put a stitch marker here, and it will tell me where I need to stop when I go to sew this strap on. And let's do the other side. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And what you can just do too is that you can just kind of fold it in half and determine whether it's straight across or not. It'll make a difference if it's not. And just grab another stitch marker. I like spare yarn for stitch markers. So now this is gonna be what's gonna happen now is that we're going to use the strap, and we're gonna start on and start to sew the strap into position. Okay, so you just be very conscientious of where you sew the strap in so you can make it left or right, and you want to match the stitches so that the strap can go. Let me show you how to do that next. So grabbing the same color yarn, just grab your darning needle up like this, and on the other side just make a slip knot. And we want to just match the 2 seams together. using that stitch marker as our base. Okay, so we want to start with the stitch marker in and just grab our strap that we're about to do and just put it in like that. And where I've done the slip knot, I want to put my needle through so I can lock it, and I want to use this straggler piece and just kind of secure it underneath. So moving to the next stitch in the booty and moving to the next stitch in the strap, I just want to whip stitch this all together. I can remove out the stitch marker that I started with just to make it easier, and just carry on and just match up the stitches as you go all the way around to the other stitch marker. So please do that, and I'll see you back here in just a moment. So I'm coming up all the way back around and I'm running into the next stitch marker in just a moment, and that's where I'm going to stop. So I'm not gonna sew it onto any more of the edging from that point, and I'm going to finish it off. So to finish it off, I'm just gonna create a little mini knot that's barely even noticeable. Just slide in the hook or the needle into the loop, and do the same concept as I've already shown you. If you glide in 3 times, just glide in nicely just underneath some fibers. Go 1, 2, and 3. You will never see the tails falling out like that. Okay, so now I have to remove this stitch marker out, and we have our strap. So we just have to now apply a button, and we apply the button over here, so you can just determine how far of the button that you want to make it. And this is just a really easy concept, so if you need it tighter, just move the button back further. You may want to test the baby, it's up to you on how you want to do it, but this is how you would do this particular item. So if it was, this is going to be the right-handed in the version, so if I wanted the left, I would have had to put the strap on the other way, and the button will appear on this side, making it a left-handed. So that's it. This is how you do this easy crochet booty. It's really quite a lot of fun and really quite simple, and this makes for a great little baby shower gift as well. Till next time, I'm Mikey on behalf of the Crochet Crowd as well as Yarnspirations.com. Thank you so much for joining me, and until next time, have a great day. Bye bye.